Hi everyone, Massive Human Rights Initiative welcomes you back to this very evening explanation on the appeal that took place on the 13th of September 2022. As you could recall, the judgment was deferred and was said to be communicated to various representatives of the prosecution and the appellant, President Nnamdi Kanu, and the legal group. They were asked to go, for they left without receiving immediate judgment. That is to say that the judgment has been reserved according to legal term. A reserved judgment, as it is, shows that the legal team will go home while the judge and the panel or the tribunal will go home, and also to study the case and find out time to make the judgment and make a written statement to accompany the reasons why the judgment was passed on both sides. It is at this very point that the judge will explain and put the case forward, and this case will also be reserved in the National Archive of the judgment of the Court of Appeal. That is why it has to be communicated, written, and directed to the representatives, because most people were confused on why the judgment was not pronounced. In higher courts, judgments are not pronounced as soon as the case is concluded. In some areas, it may, but in some cases, many judges in Court of Appeal all over the world do not give immediate judgment, because for any judgment they give, they will write reasons. And those reasons, they have to sit down, go through the argument, come out to see where the points, look at the argument, and they come out to give a verdict. Written verdicts are always reserved, because they are not going to push it immediately the argument ends. The Court of Appeal publishes, in some cases, some of their written arguments and place it for the public, but in most cases, depending on the area and the country where this is carried out. That is why I decided to give little explanation, not that anything serious took place, not that it was, something extraordinary, that a judgment was not given immediately for the counsels to know, for the applicants to know the verdict or the result of the application. So in this case, that is what happened. This we want to clarify for the people to understand what happened. The judgment will come later, normally in any specialized or court where things are run smoothly. It's that within 1 month to 3 months, the judgment will be out. But it depends on the judge. It can be within the period. But in this appeal, there are some certain things. When judges are allocated cases in some areas, in some countries, you look at the profile of the judge. Look at how the judge has been running the case before him or her. But because this case is a controversial case, it's a case where there is personal interest, there has been a mistrust in the area of handling the case. For instance, the judge that handled the case of Nnamdi versus the government of Nigeria is Justice Hannatu Jume of Abuja Court of Appeal. She is a judge and she has had cases of which, reading from the cases she has handled in the recent times, from the one here she handled between the Ondo and those of the, when she was in Sokoto, she is a lady Fulani woman, and also has had some controversial issues. But nevertheless, a judge will always have controversy in some areas, and for the politicians, they can also make things difficult for the judges at times. But nevertheless, she has been in the system, she has been controversial in most of her legal issues, which we are not going to be able to dish out. But what is important is the ability to give out the real judgment. And as we stated earlier, this case appears to be like Fulani Ethnic group versus Nnamdi Kanu, or versus the Southeast. When you look at the interpretation and when you study all the newspaper publications, all the social medias, everything that has come out from this very issue, because the Massive took time to download and listen to most of the reports in social media, newspapers, and also some main network news to ascertain and find out what this case is all about. It is a case that is more than what people may think. It is deep in the mind of those who abducted Nnamdi Kanu, who renditioned him from Kenya to Nigeria. It has been a very deep case in their mind, and that is why it is described as malicious, and every element of abuse of process in this very case. Look at the case. The judge, Binta, is from the same ethnic group with the president. The judge handling the appeal is also of the same. Now, you look at the prosecutors, you see the Minister of Justice is of the same lineage. The prosecuting lawyer, Shaibu Laban, is on the same lineage. The police Inspector General who investigated or who took part in the investigation, and also the director of DSS that kept Nnamdi in their custody is also a Fulani man. Then the National Security Advisor is also the Fulani man. So you find out that there is a very high level of interest of this very group of people, and their main hub, the MAC Bank, also very much interested. The Solicitor General, UMARU, MOHAMMED, ETSU, also from the same group. When you look at the report of reporters, Sahara reporters, say Nigerian Attorney General Malami approves posting of Solicitor General stroke PS Director of Prosecution, Public Prosecution, also UMARU. So you go back again, you find out that those who have severe and serious interest and have been complaining against this very particular issue of IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu they are also in the same group, and hence has declared it as a case between Nnamdi Kanu and the Fulani ethnic group, or the Igbo ethnic group. This is how they made it to be. However, this is hanged on issue of Nigerian Biafra war that ended up in 1970. In the issue of why are you torturing him? Why did you not extradite him? Why did you kidnap him and brought him into the country? Why did you torture him for 8 days? Because in one of the reports, the victim, Nnamdi Nnamdi Kanu, said he was tortured for complete 8 good days in Kenya before he was brought back to Nigeria. So all those things are the issues and the case. And when you look at the reasons why the United Nations came into this case, is because of the torture, the maltreatment, and as a result, the report that we are passed to United Nations from Nigerian newspapers, from DSS itself, from Malami itself, that they captured and they had Nnamdi in their custody. With those reports, the United Nations mandated the Commission of Inquiry and fact findings and investigations into the torture, into the rendition, into the situation of which serious violations of international standard was established. The international human rights law and the international humanitarian law was applied, whether to see if he was actually tortured or not. And this has been established. As a result, they have taken a step forward by forwarding the reports to United Nations, and it was approved. And this approval cannot come without the international investigative bodies passing it through the Security Council, General Assembly, the Human Rights Council, and so forth. So this has established actually that the ethnic group of the Fulani had entirely established a war against Nnamdi Kanu, and in most cases against where he comes from. This is why the case and the appeal of which everyone is saying, why was it not made known? That is the decision made known to the public immediately. But however, as we have stated, judgments at the Court of Appeal takes a little long because the arguments and the judge or the judges involved will take time to read the case and come out with a verdict. But what verdict are they expecting in a situation where all the one ethnic group dominated and fight against a particular group, and the leader of the group is in their custody and they are fighting against him, determining the case from the High Court to the Court of Appeal? Then what else would they do? And the controversy of the judge in question has been high, as stated in various newspapers. Well, one would wait to see. We ask everyone involved, all the interested groups, to wait at least before a month's time. The judgment will be out. That is what is happening, and we believe that you will have the endurance to wait and look out what the judgment will be. Although this has nothing to do with the order of United Nations to release Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally. That is a stigma that is on the head of Nigerian government. Whether they like it, it has been pronounced. United Nations cannot withdraw it, no matter how they go back through the backyard to reverse the decision. It has been passed, it has been passed. That is the decision of the United Nations. We wait to hear that of Nigerian Appeal Court and those who control the court system in Nigeria. handle it. So that is the issue. But in overall, in summary, you find out that this case, from the police to the prosecutors to the judges, are from one ethnic group battling against Nnamdi Kanu because of the issue of Biafra and also inability to allow the infiltration when he opened ESN. So that has been the anger, and they have been complaining about it, but that has no effect on the issue, because already the United Nations, the Committee Against Torture, has given their report, and the United Nations has requested that Nnamdi Kanu be released unconditionally, because the method, the system that he was abducted, tortured, has been identified and is against international law, of which, if they do not carry this out, it will end up in Nigerian state being sanctioned, and the sanction may affect everybody. And that is why those who have knowledge of what international law and what the advice from the United Nations mean, they will do it, because when they feel the Security Council and the General Assembly, in cooperation with the Human Rights Council, will make things a little bit difficult for Nigerians. That is why it is good to obey. It may pain the Fulanis, the ethnic group, it may pain them, but it's better to pain them than to put everybody in jeopardy in the nation they are striving to prolong and have as a nation. With this, we come to the end of today's analysis of what and how the judgment will come. Thank you very much. We ask you to subscribe, to share, to give us a thumb up, and also share our videos. Thank you very much, and God bless you.